Alright, hey, this is Matt Hickson again. In my last post on Mint, which was a long time ago, which I will link in this post, I talked about how you kind of need to get your stuff in order to know what you're doing. And so this is the spreadsheet that I use, and this is the next step once you've taken an inventory of when your salary is, when your bills are, and when they occur. So you'll notice up here at the top, I get paid twice a month. I get paid on the 1st and the 15th. And so I base everything on cash flow. I think that um, the normal American person bases their budget on a pay period to pay period cash flow basis, and they stick money away if they can, or they pay debt off, or whatever it is. But first thing is when what is your salary and how often do you get paid? So you need to break out the columns based on the time period in which you get paid, and then you basically set up your paycheck in each one of those pay periods, and it's the net paycheck you take home. So now the next piece I want to talk about is if you come down here, you look at bills. And so you'll notice in my bills, these are the ones I've highlighted in red. There are some that happen at the first of the month and some that happen at the second of the month. And the reason, and you'll notice that I pay my mortgage in the first of the month, so there's $24.50 in this example. So by the way, I've completely faked these numbers just to have some numbers to talk about, but also not to have my real information in here. This is part of the problem that has taken me so long to do this post, is getting around to doing that. So, but you'll notice that I have like $2,400 in the first half of the month, and I have $592 in the second half. Well, that's why I do this little maneuver up here where I move money from the second half of the second half of the month to the first half of the month. So I use another checking account where I just kind of shuffle money between the two checking accounts, and I move it in and out as I need to pay for the mortgage and things like that. So these bills I've gone through. This is part of your inventory process in the first post, in which you say, all right, these are the bills that I have and here's when they're due. And you basically just plot these into the columns that make sense for each one of those. And then the other rest of the pay period, I've just blacked that out for visualization so I can kind of know what they are. Now, at the top of this, you'll see this stuff which is like variable. So let's start with groceries. So we basically budget an amount. We have each pay period for groceries, which is really about $300 a pay period for groceries. We give money to our church or to whatever piece we want to give to for our tithing, and then we set aside money for dining out. And I left this dining out money in here because realistically, this is what we can't afford in our budget. This is really our number, and we usually blow this number a lot, and so that's a problem for us, and we're working on that. But just so everybody knows that there's a pain point for everyone. Um, then the Visa is a variable amount, but I put it in here. I pay it once a month, and we put our gas on there, and we put a couple other things on there. But this is about what I need to do to pay it off for what we put on there on a regular basis. So then the other piece is I don't really budget. When you go into Mint, you'll notice that they do things like they'll get really granular on pieces, and I don't budget based on dry cleaners and fast food and coffee and all that stuff. I may want to go look at that stuff, but you could completely waste your time trying to figure that out. And the only way that you can really budget and know that your cash flow is okay, given the system that they have, is to do it this way. So you'll see why you need a kind of a general category. But I give myself and Julie an allowance every month or every pay period, and she gets a little bit more because she takes care of the kids and they need a few more things. Um, but trust me, that's not even close to the amount of allowance we get every month. So Julie would be ecstatic with that. So would I. But anyway, so this basically, when you come down through this, you'll see that then there's a group for other expenses. And so you can see that I have a homeowners association that we pay in January. We had to renew the tags on the van. These are like random one-off things that are not that don't happen on a regular basis. And that brings you down to an income or loss. And this is the extra money, or when you do this spreadsheet for a lot of people, they may realize, hey, I'm in the hole. I have a problem here. And so you need to know you need to shuffle money or cut expenses. And then I put a cumulative column in here as an example to show how much you could save over a period of time if you use that extra money in an effective way. So you got to do this first before you go into Mint and do the next phase, which I'll record another video on. But if you have questions about this, I'll also just email me, and I will email you this spreadsheet if you want it, if you want to start with this. So hope this helps. I will record the next one this weekend also and get it done. Just two other quick points on this, the reason I set this up this way. So I mentioned before that when you get down to this income and loss section down here, that it's going to show you here's what you have left over or what you don't have. So what I would suggest is when you set this up, set up the columns and just put your bills when they're due and what pay period they're due. And that's going to show you, I mean, this is how I knew to move $1,000, right? Is that I knew that I was going to be broke in one pay period and not the other one. And so you, by doing it the way that the bills are actually set up, you can start to see how much money do I need to shuffle from one pay period to the next. The other thing that I would say is that in my normal workflow of when I get paid and I sit down and do the bills, I open up this spreadsheet first, because what it allows me to do is I may have some one-off bills like that were down here, and I have a place where I keep those. But on a regular basis, I can go through this as like a checklist, and I can say, okay, you know, groceries, all these at the top, they're all variable. And so I turn those green and I say, all right, I'm okay with those. I'm done with those. Um, but like the mortgage, these I turn green once I've paid the bills, so that I know, one, that I've gotten the bill, and two, that I've actually paid the bill, so I don't forget. We all get busy. I get busy, and sometimes you forget. And so you'll notice down here that I've turned all these green, but the house alarm was black still. And so, either I didn't get that bill yet, I hadn't paid that bill yet, something, but I needed to make sure I knew that. So basically, this turns into a checklist for you. And if you know some of these one-off bills, by the way, you can start to stick those out there so you can start to plan. I've got a whole nother section I want to talk about on wants and needs and how you plan cash flow. So we'll talk about that a little bit more too. Hopefully this helps. And like I said a few minutes ago, if you'd like this spreadsheet, let me know, and I will email it to you. Be happy to help.